What's your favorite scary movie?
You wanna play?
There's no more room in hell. The dead walk here.
The blackest dies, the devil sighs.
Welcome once again to another episode of Horror Cult. This is Victor Moreno along with Kirby Nelson, bringing you into the darkest worlds of film criticism, discussion, and analysis with two of your favorite people from the Phoenix horror community. You love us from Mad Monsters, you love us from Cult Classics or Terror Tuesday, or you might loathe us. Either way, we're going to take you deeper into film criticism than you would in a body horror film. So this week, we're going to talk a little bit about The Living Dead. Not Nosferatu. Zombies.
True story.
True story. Beyond belief. Fact or fiction. No, we're going to talk a little bit about zombies. That's right, guys. It's the 35th anniversary of Return of the Living Dead, and over 50 years since the original, the one that started it all, Night of the Living Dead. And we're going to talk about the future of the zombie genre, from films to comics. Has it jumped the shark or bit it? I don't know. Lucio Fulci would know better than I. We're going to talk about that. We're going to do a little bit of a recap on Mad Monster and some other local horror events that have been going on in the last 2 weeks since you last saw us for Horror Cult. And if you like us, subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/c/cultclassics. You can always find all these links where you can find us, as well as on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts, on our website, cultfollowing.co. And as always, Horror Cult is part of the Cult Following Podcast Network. Yeah, boy.
Yeah, network.
That's right. If you like us, be sure to check out View and Spew Review and Cult Following, always on this same feed. You have stuff coming at you all the fucking time from your favorite guys here at Cult Following, Horror Cult, Cult Classics. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. That was some nice shameless self-promotion.
I know. We're going to have to get some sponsors going at some point. I just need to, work in some, terrible reference. Before we get into zombies, let me tell you about Dollar Shave Club.
That's true. And, the VPN one. Those are the two big ones. That's what we need.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. I know. It's
Virtual Shield. That's it.
That's it, yeah.
Get us some money.
Because, when you're traveling abroad, you don't want the government following you. This custom VPN is essential.
That it is.
To masking your identity from would-be hostiles.
That's true.
See,
true.
I got all this shit worked out. We just got to get the cash flow going.
Oh, well.
There's, they're doing a Wu-Tang Clan, mini-series, based on, with actors playing all the members of the Wu-Tang Clan. I think it starts in August on Hulu. It's so stupid. It's born in Shaolin, raised in New York. I'm like, oh my god, it's so dumb.
Well, I just said there we will or something instead of that we will. So I guess I went to the ODB Academy of kids who can't read good.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's all right.
Rest in peace, everything around
Rest in
me.
peace, big baby Jesus. Yeah.
All right.
Get the money.
Yeah, dollar
bills, y'all.
No, so the big thing we had happen the last few days, I guess it's officially a week now, it was Mad Monster Arizona, latest yearly installment of our, local horror convention here.
Strong here in the valley.
Right?
So,
you would never think, but yeah, as always, our favorite show of the year. And, Kirby had a unique perspective, being a bit behind the scenes.
Yeah, I kind of got to do my trial run this year and stuff. Not as immersive as I'd hoped, but obviously, like I said, it was very busy. We did a lot of this on the fly. I was brought in a little bit later. I've always done a lot of consulting and stuff for Mad Monster, but it was my first actual show with them, and I had a lot of fun. I mean, it's I did some stuff behind the scenes, helping with floor management, helping with the show and stuff like that, and the talent are wonderful guests, of which we had some of the best we've ever had. definitely had so much fun with that. But worked a lot of the merch and stuff. Which, if you've seen cult classics at any Phoenix or many California events, you already know me behind there. But it was actually a very different experience. So that was really cool. I mean, like I said, I love Man Monster. I always have, even before I became a part of it. And it's, I don't say it as anything other than the honest truth. Anybody who knows me is well aware of how I feel. It's just that, anybody's lived in the Phoenix area for 10, 15 years. Victor and I both have been here about 15 years. And, really there was only originally like International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Fest. There was, and then they tried Rapture. Had one successful year.
No, they did too.
Well, they had two, but they had one that was actually really successful.
Oh yeah, the second show.
The second show was really good. The first year, and like I said, I do want to give respect because there was the second show was really good, and I felt could have kept going, but and then like FearCon had a couple good years, especially because they were more of a film festival than a con. And I thought they had a lot of great years too, and so it was fun, but it was just very infrequent. It wasn't something, the experience always varied. Whereas with Mad Monster, it consistently gets better. This year was tailored more towards like 13 guests, 13 ghosts. Plus one, we had Zach Galligan kind of show up last minute.
He was like number 13 because Tom Savini didn't show up at the end.
Yeah, so we had, but it was a good, solid group, and it was a lot of fun. The original, all the guests, were incredible. I think it was one of the more diverse between, classic and modern. Especially newer stuff. We always get to have at least the last couple of years have always had someone make the first appearance. Last year was David Howard Thornton. Art the Clown from Terrifier, the Sheriff's Marisol Ramirez from Curse of La Llorona. And so we were just real blessed to have a lot of different kinds of individuals show up. Always we always have the panels. I have never seen so packed in my life. They were literally Matthew Lillard's was out the door. I'm pretty sure it was a fire code violation, but he was amazing. But everybody had a pretty large panel. Everybody I peeked into, the few I was able to sit in for a few minutes when I wasn't behind the scenes or wasn't working up front, and I just feel like we the costume contest was huge. It was 25 or 30 participants. We had Victor will fill you in on Scarioki, as he is always both an attendee and a performer. I was fast asleep because I was exhausted, but everything generally. Each of the days went smooth. Friday was the biggest day ever because it was the Elvira photo op that night, and I think she originally pre-sold she had a couple hundred, and she doubled it. She did I think almost 400 photos.
Yeah.
She's just amazing.
No, Friday was the Saturday of most cons, and it was ridiculous. Between that and Love, Pain, and Stitches, if you guys do enough horror cons, you should know about Love, Pain, and Stitches. They do these handmade handbags that basically usually look like Halloween pumpkins. If you've been to any horror event in the last couple years, you'll have seen somebody with these bags. They're very handmade. They're very hard to get. The line for them at Monster Palooza is usually at least 2 to 3 hours long or something along those lines.
Very much. Yeah, they are. It's just insane.
Yeah, and they have.
But you can tell, the quality is there 100%.
Yeah, and basically, this was their first show out here, and at the same time, Elvira had a giant line outside. They had a giant line on Friday going from their booth to the front door.
Yeah, that was the very first person I saw who came through the first door because I was right up front, and the first question I had was, "Where's Love, Pain, and Stitches?" So
yeah, so I was actually really happy about that because that was sending traffic down our way. I think on Saturday and Sunday they did a kind of a line management thing to kind of try to get that a little more under control, but they had a lot of inventory left by the end of the show, so I think a lot of people spent money on photo ops this year. It was like a big thing.
Yeah, it was a big photo op year. A lot of autographs and stuff. And like I said, a lot of different kinds of guests. So people, I mean, mainly, of course, always horror, but I mean, bleeding into action, general pop culture and stuff, comedy. A lot of people that just, I've never met at cons, and I've never even seen attend, or if they do, it's somewhere back east. I mean, out west and stuff. A lot of these folks I've never even seen. So
yeah, and a lot of people also came to see the Annabelle puppet.
Oh yeah, that was really cool. From Scary Closet that Ally Phoenix brought. That was a lot of fun. There was a lot of good photo opportunities. There were a lot of great horror cosplayers. Many of whom were in the costume contest. That dude who does the from Death Note, he was also Slender Man. He
I saw that guy.
Time. I mean, it's impressive. There was a great Candyman I saw, Trick or Treat. I always loved somebody did Jennifer's Body, which I adored.
I saw that girl.
Yeah, so that was awesome.
That's another one I need to do a custom figure of.
That would be awesome too. Because that one's gonna take, I think, NECA a while to get to there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just overall, I mean, just another, it's a whirlwind every year. It's great to see a lot of my friends that I just, I only get to see once or twice a year at conventions. I definitely got a shout out to Little Shop of Gore, Forever Midnight, Knee High Horror, Attic Flood, Monster Posse, Demonic Infestation. There's just so many. I can't even think of them all. There was so many people. Paul Bear Press. It's just Vinegar Syndrome. Friends locally here at Severin and Zia Records. Just so many good people that we're really lucky to see every year. Curious Goods. I mean, it's always such an immense amount of local talent and people coming from both regionally and from other areas, and so we just always have a lot of fun. It was it's just one of those things, like I said, just goes by so fast, and then I'm like, I can't wait till next year. So we definitely will have announcements here. We'll give people plenty of heads up, but another year in the books. Can't wait till next year. It's I got to do a lot of the photo ops. If you follow me on social media, you've probably seen all my pictures, but the only one I have to take a moment to just say how incredible Doug Jones was.
He was really nice.
Every year I have someone I'm most, everyone has their top pick or the people they want to see the most, and different years it's been different people, and for me, finally getting to meet Doug Jones, who has been in, I mean, it's just you look at his filmography, and it's just incredible the amount of characters he's played, and he's one of those people who obviously is usually beneath makeup or a prosthesis and stuff, but he not only just is in the Best Picture of the Year Academy Award-winning film, which he was integral to, but every role he's played, I mean, I've literally grown up the last 20 plus years with Doug Jones. In fact, I mean, since I was a kid with Mac Tonight, I mean, right. I always remember that commercial because I just thought it looked so cool, and they always say, like I said, I think I posted about don't meet your heroes, but then you meet someone like Doug, and he is everything and more that you hope for. Just the kindest, most beautiful, wonderful person. He just talked for a long time, and he hugs everybody, his huggles, and he's just so sweet. I mean, he's just one of the most amazing people in the world. And I mean, anybody who's met him, I'm sure would agree. But I mean, for me, it was just, I don't know. He exceeded all expectations. Yeah. So I was really glad to spend time with him, and lots of other guests were great too. I really thought Matthew Lillard was one of the funniest people I've ever seen. Like, his panel was great. He came into the Q&A or into the photo op beforehand and gave everybody high fives, and he just was just very, very cool. Like another person I kind of grew up with, in the later years of my life, and at high school and college, and he just he was rad too. Just everybody was great, so it was a lot of fun. You can't, of course, if I haven't met Elvira before, it'd probably be my top one, but yeah, she's always amazing. So there's nothing else to say. She is the one and only. She is a legend.
No, and I had a really good experience the first time I met Elvira, so I almost I don't really need to do that again. And it's like, yeah, Doug Jones is like very nice, you know. I told him the whole story about like when I first, you know, met Guillermo del Toro. Then I posted like the picture of the two of us on like Facebook. I was like, "Oh, is that your uncle?" You know, because we kind of like look similar. And then he was like, "Oh, I can see it, I can see it." And then like we were talking from after a while, and he was kind of like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to leave early tomorrow, so I'm only gonna do the photo op, you know. And I have dinner with my cousins. I have real family here, unlike your bastardization with Guillermo." So that was really funny. Yeah, and then he did, the crazy like, "Oh, bringing me in with that hug, huh?" Yeah, it was very nice. And he signed that really nice anatomy chart I have from Shape of Water, which is like the only autograph I got this year. And then,
speaking of your other doppelganger, I also want to give a shout out to Robert Air in 1984.
Oh, yeah.
He's a great dude, great pin maker and stuff, awesome person. And Victor's long lost. Victor had joked that they should have done the little.
Oh yeah, no,
thing.
I told him about that on Friday. He's like, "Oh, I totally would have done it too. That would have been funny." No, and then we ended up at his after party on on Saturday too. We got there like at like 2. We only stayed around for like a little while. So I'm like, at that point it was like a little bit ridiculous. I'm like, we
not as ridiculous as the Metallica cover I heard about.
Oh yeah, no, because we like took over like the Ignal or whatever the fuck that restaurant is called. I gotta watch it with the F bombs if I want to keep this on the up and up with podcasts.
Yeah, that's
like,
true. You gotta be very careful. I will work to do the same.
Yeah, but basically we after the show did on Friday, like Adam, our good buddy, if you follow our podcast from Cult Volume and Spew, was nice enough to reserve a table, which was basically like the Alamo / cult, family table. Like it was like very Last Supper. I think we had like at one point like 20 people at that table, and we had it the whole night. And they ended up starting karaoke early just because there were so many of us in there. I mean, at one point the RIPD party was going at the same time. Like they sent one of the girls in there to try to get some of us to go to it, and I'm kind of like, yeah, no, we're good. I was a little drunk at that point, and like I might have made some off-color, notes like "get out of here" type deal. We got our own thing going on, but I was doing metal songs all night long. I think at one point I did Enter Sandman, and I got some Hetfield pipes on me.
There you go.
And then everybody was like going along with it because our other friend who was with us, Sarah, she's a very good singer, and she was doing like Lady Gaga, like the one from the movie with Bradley Cooper.
Oh, okay, The Star is Born.
Star is Born, and she like nailed it, and she did that Little Mermaid song, Part of Your World.
Yeah, yep.
She was like hitting those notes. People
Sweet.
were, yeah. So we had quality karaoke going on, and I'm doing like Metallica and like not butchering the fuck out of it. And then Matthew Lillard runs up and starts playing air guitar and doing the metal horns while I'm singing. So that was pretty fun. That was right before he and Sean like booked off to RIPD or something, But that was pretty fun.
Well, as I understand, a lot of attendees ended up. A lot of them told me like, "Oh, we went to the strip club last night," and I'm like, "In Fountain Hills?" Like no, I'm over at Scottsdale. I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Oh,
well, that sounds more correct. That sounds a bit more right there. But they said, they had a lot of fun. Went out. A couple of them went actually. They know your favorite watering hole, Undertow.
Oh
so
yeah,
really
Undertow is very nice.
Yep. So, but yeah, all in all, a lot of fun. It was a really, really long weekend. The kind of pre-show was Alamo Phoenix hosted Joe Bob Briggs.
Yeah.
So went to that, and it was 2 shows. He just had 1 show and sold out. So they had
That's
a second.
crazy that he agreed to do 2 because like I was telling people like you guys know this is like a lecture he does.
Yeah.
It's not like some weird like slideshow like I'll talk for 2 minutes, here's a clip.
Yeah. And it wasn't like just a off the cuff Q&A.
Yeah.
I mean, and not only was it a lecture, but it was over 2 hours. So I got there at like 5 in the afternoon to get ready for the meet and greet, and the meet and greet was started probably like 6. The show was supposed to start at 7, and the meet and greet lasted an hour and a half, and they still had to half the line, cut it in half, so that the people could do it after the show. Because by the time it got started at 7:30, I want to say the show was done about 9:30. He had clips.
Mm-hmm.
It was How the Redneck Saved Hollywood, and it was probably one of the funniest, most entertaining shows I've ever been to. I mean, anybody who knows Joe Bob grew up with it. It's a love or hate it thing, but he just absolutely slayed. Like, I loved it.
I know,
But I just can't believe he did a second show either.
Yeah,
like,
and I'll be, because Joe Bob is a really nice guy. I've heard him talk enough times, but like, I'm always kind of the contrarian. Like, I was never a big fan of Monster Vision, and trust me, I'm not slagging anybody. It's just like sometimes things hit people different,
Sure.
know. But it's like I'm glad he's making a cool comeback doing that and everything. So that's rad.
Yeah, I mean, I've only caught like one episode of Last Drive-In because I don't have Shudder. I know, which people are always amazed by. I'm like, I have 4,000 movies.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
physically, I'm like,
I have Shudder and I almost never watch it. I mean, like, I already have everything on there.
Yeah, it's a hard sale for me, except for exclusive content. I know, exactly. And here I am, like, someone's like think I'm doing some shelfie talk, but I'm like, I'm not joking. I literally probably have somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 films now, and it's just kind of, I haven't watched half of them, and it's not because I'm doing it like, I just buy stuff. It's like it's a classic Twilight Zone. They're like, time enough at last. I'll eventually be able to start working through these. But I mean, it's like people are always asking. I mean, just our last episode, you hit me with like 4 or 5 movies. I'm like, I still haven't seen that one yet, and it's not because I don't want to. It's just a matter of time, and I mean, my schedule's just it is a first world problems thing, but it's also just that it's hard to devote time to movies there, like where I can only do a few a week.
No, and my thing is too, like, I'm still selling off like chunks of my collection because I buy a lot of stuff, and then after I have it for a year or two, I'm like, no, like a couple weeks ago, I sold my Massacre video of like a Black Devil doll and Quadhead Zone because I like those movies. One of my birthday, I think my 30th birthday party, those were the movies I played. But at the same time, like, I've had that box set since 2013 and never watched it again.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, this will probably make somebody else happier than me. I have a memory from meeting Chester Arthur and all these people. It's like, why do I need this box set that in all likelihood I'll probably never watch again?
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That's a difficult. Maybe that'll be a future episode. It's about first world collection problems, but I just feel like with a lot of these like shows and stuff and channels, it's just hard to keep up with. And then I mean, I have Prime, obviously Netflix, and a million other things, and it's just it's one of those ones where it basically, like a lot of other channels that are fighting for viability, it's basically your exclusive content that you have. You have to have something no one else does, and that's getting harder and harder. I mean, it's crazy to think some of the stuff that's available. I mean,
no, some of the Shudder material, like I watched the Critters series they had, and it's not my bag. They just got like Knife Plus Heart, that new Vanessa Paradis lesbian like slasher movie, and I'm always like, that sounds interesting. I don't really know that I want to watch it. Weirdly enough, though, I still have been pretty damn good about watching the Hulu ones, the Into the Dark. I already saw like this month's. They just debuted yesterday. It's called Culture Shock. And it's got Barbara Crampton in it and Creed Bratton from The Office. It's like a kind of like directed by Gigi Salguero. Basically, like most of the movie is actually in Spanish, and like it's about like these migrants that are trying to cross the border, and they get captured, and Creed Bratton and Sean Ashmore from the X-Men movies are basically work for the government, and they're trying to do a sort of a play on like, well, what if we capture them, but we'll save money by trapping them in a VR scenario where they think they're in this idealized Pleasantville version of America. Yeah, and they're like, they have feeding tubes and like, oh, you think you're in America, but you're really in an internment camp kind of thing. It's kind of like, almost felt like a spin on like The Purge meets kind of The Matrix kind of a deal.
I was thinking Human Centipede
No.
Gamer, but that's cool.
No, but yeah, Barbara Crampton is like this AI, like that's basically trying to keep them all trapped on Main Street and on the 4th of July, and it's like it's interesting. It's more than a little preachy, and I kind of feel like they've probably done so many Purge movies at this point that that's like the only style they know how to do. It's like, oh, like there's a post-credit scene where like they're making fun of Trump and everything.
Sure.
And it's like it's a good performance. The main girl in it is in that Netflix show Altered Carbon. She was
I haven't seen that one.
It's a good show. You should watch that.
Check it out.
But yeah, she's like the female cop on Altered Carbon. That half of her dialogue in that movie is in Spanish too. But yeah, other than that, I was like, it wasn't as good as the last couple months, but it was at least pretty good. And Barbara Crampton still somehow doesn't age, and I don't understand that.
Yeah, she looks better now. I saw Adrienne Barbeau this weekend at
Monster,
yeah, it's just like, oh my god, you are timeless. I mean, she is so gorgeous still. Like, I mean, she always will be. She's one of those people who just is amazing. There's a lot of people who are, but I mean, it just astounds me. But speaking of preachy, I did want to dip quickly into The Dead Don't Die, which I was able to catch a screen of, and wow, yeah, that one is.
I wasn't a fan of that movie.
That is the bottom rung of my picks for this year. And people have been trying. People, I think, both in our circle have been trying to convince me, or what do you call it? Educate me on the merits of it, and I can't find anything. Yeah, I mean, the things I liked, and that was it. But overall, it's just oof.
I watched a lot of Jim Jarmusch movies, and I don't even think it really works as a genre deconstruction. I think it's
which is what the goal was.
Yeah, and I kind of think it's even like a big step down from the last time he tried with like Only Lovers Left Alive. There's just ways to do something like this that isn't stupid and pandering. I don't know. That was kind of my take on it. Well, I feel like at the time I was kind of almost 50-50 on it when I first saw it. I'm like, there's things in here that are making me laugh, but I don't know if it's from absurdity or genuine humor. And now being far enough away from it, was just kind of like from absurdity, Yeah,
it's pretty absurd. Well, it's supposed to be without, I mean, like I said, like got a huge amount of spoilers and stuff. That's supposed to be very fourth wall breaking.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things I didn't really care about it either. It was like a little too cute about that. Well, like it was riffing off of the fact that there's so many well-known actors in it. And that's like, if that's your riff on fourth wall, like, okay, we're really well known and we're in this movie. That's like, well, that's all you're saying is you're well known and you're in a movie.
Yeah. I just, like I said, I actually like the fourth wall thing. If they had stayed dedicated to it throughout the whole movie, I mean, really dedicated to it. People go, they did this, and this, and it's like, yeah, but it wasn't really like committed the way I wanted it to be. It's
it just seemed a little referencey to me, like, and I don't if I want a genre deconstruction, that's what I want. I don't want like something like epic movie or scary movie. Like, look, I'm referencing something.
Well, yeah. Well, this aimed for scary movie and ended up with Stan Helsing.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it. But I mean, that was probably. I mean, I really haven't enjoyed a lot this year so far in any genre. I mean, but especially horror being my most beloved, and I know you feel the same.
Yeah, so I kind of wish there was more this year that I could really say I've watched multiple times in that genre and like really enjoyed it. I think The Perfection is still kind of at the top of my list, and even that has issues, like I'm just like I don't want like a rape revenge horror movie to be at the top of my list at the end of the year, but at least it had good body horror elements. Like, fuck, dude, I just watched the new season of Stranger Things, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but I'm like, there's more body horror in that than half the movies this year I've seen that say they're body horror.
Yeah, which has become a real trying to make an active niche again, where people are like, oh, we're all acolytes of Cronenberg.
Right.
It's like you're doing the master wrong.
And I will say, if you like The Stuff or Night of the Creeps, you'll probably really like the new season of Stranger Things.
Well, I did not like. I haven't watched it. I did not like the previous season. So
well, they also got the number of episodes way down.
That's
it's only
good, too.
8 episodes long, so it actually feels like you're watching a long movie.
That's good, because that's really important. Because about halfway through Stranger Things season 2, I was already done.
There's two.
I had
it's
mentally checked
season
out.
1 and 2 are too long. Like, I think 6 to 8 episodes is like a good length nowadays.
Well, that's the way I feel just generally. I mean, we've talked about that, I know, on Call Following.
Yeah,
But even
Castle
here,
Rock was too long. If
Yeah.
it had been 6 episodes, I probably would have been less disappointed with it.
which is like start strong, finish strong. When you get beyond the 5th season, usually of any given series, you're just destined to.
Yeah, I don't like it when
Stumble.
you're watching something and it actively feels like filler. Like, will have no payoff. This is just to buy time.
Pretty much.
Like the last season of Game of Thrones had entirely too many episodes like that in the first half of the season, and then the second half of the season they're like blowing through shit. Like, what?
That's the way I felt about the last 3 episodes of the 7th season, right? It was the 6th season, 7th season?
Yeah, the last season.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. I was like, well, that's the thing. I mean, I actually just finished Game of Thrones, the first. I haven't watched the last season yet. It already, obviously, I know almost everything that's going to happen
Yeah.
just because, it does. But I mean, I honestly had already checked out of the series, like after I think the 4th season. I just didn't think it was very good. So it is what it is. But I mean, in horror, I just think in horror, I think you just absolutely, I think it's kind of like people talk a lot about the golden age being in the 80s, and I'm like, you do notice a lot of those movies are between 78 and 82 minutes, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, 78, maybe 87 is the longest. I mean, almost everything's under an hour and a half.
Yeah, and it feels like nowadays if you watch a movie and it isn't like 2.5 hours long, somehow you were robbed.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Well, that's whatever. Yeah, I don't. Rah, 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 rah. Old man yells at cloud. But
Right.
I mean, what, they just re-release Endgame with 6 extra minutes? It's like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? Well, I mean, most of the time when you have that kind of stuff, that's the selling point for the Blu-ray or DVD or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that, we added the extra footage and stuff, and people, when you're talking a lean movie, like 90 minutes or under, it is interesting. You're like, oh, well, there might have been some scenes I would have liked to have seen, plus that, I mean, deleted scenes when DVD and Laserdisc first came out. I mean, that was like the biggest thing in the world.
That was the biggest thing, and now it's like, whatever. Oh, like, Us had so many of them, the Blu-ray that just came out. I'm like, that at least made it worth the purchase if you bought it. But, like, that's, like, not the norm anymore.
No, not at all.
And
Well,
I mean, I don't want to put, like, some of these boutique distributors on blast, but I'm like, like, Night of the Creeps just got re-released, right? If you got the collector's edition, you got, like, extra slip covers and a toy and a poster and all that shit. But try to tell me how just a Blu-ray of it is worth $30.
well,
I can't justify that. That's too much money.
Well, that's the harder part of, I think, for those companies. I mean, you have people who are just, flippers and speculators is the people who really bring it up. But a lot of people, it's just like, I mean, my whole thing is I don't own it. My goal is to try to move away from double, triple, quadruple dipping. For Night of the Creeps, I didn't own the Blu-ray. It's one of my favorite movies, so I bought it. I wanted the Atkins figure. I wanted the poster and the slips. But for me, it's justified because I didn't already own it.
Yeah.
So the $20 I already was spent on the first Blu-ray now I'm much it's easier to justify. But a lot of these, I mean, we're not talking like boutique. I mean, you look at like
well, no, we're
what do you
getting
call it?
in this.
Foreign born, the,
Well, like what? Yesterday, yesterday, the day before, there's like some like label I'd never heard of called Dark Force, I think.
oh, doing the Dead Pit.
Yeah, and they were putting out this title Dead Pit, I think, on VHS or something.
Well, no, it's Dark Force is basically Code Red. Code Red, basically in Scorpion, split into several labels. They were doing stuff with the Twilight Time series of Blu-rays from God, what is the name? They do film scores. I just can't remember the name off the top of my head. Screen Archives Entertainment. There we go.
Oh, okay.
So Screen Archives Entertainment, and then they also started another boutique that's Ronin Flicks.
Okay.
And then there's now Dark Force, and Dark Force already got into some stuff with. They put out an old war anthology on Blu-ray called Screams of Were Night, which has never had any release. And they originally said, well, we're only doing 200 copies.
Okay.
And now they just, when like Dead Pit came out yesterday, they were like, well, we'll give you a copy of Screams of Were Night. So it's like, how many movies do you have? How many copies? And then the Dead Pit was supposed to be the VHS box art. It was supposed to be the light up eyes with the 3D printing. And so a lot of people were excited. I didn't own Dead Pit on Blu-ray. I like the movie. I have the old Code Red Best Buy exclusive. That's dating myself there.
Yeah.
I bought that in the store like 10 or 11 years ago. But I like the movie, so I bought it on Blu-ray. But it's like, I mean, like the ludicrous stuff they were trying to add in. I'm like, I don't need any of that. I just want the movie on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
That's all I want. I didn't
No,
own it,
and
I'll take the slip.
Yeah, and I had friends who were like, I've got all my stuff lit up. When the fuck is this thing gonna drop? Because I don't have all holiday to waste waiting.
Yeah, that was
for
me.
this.
One of them.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I had a buddy out on IG who everyone should follow. And I really mean this. Gore Forever. He's like my him, and there's a website, Broke Horror Fan, that I just use them to find out what's coming out and decide, because they always post the best stuff that's coming out.
Yeah.
And I make a decision based on it. Like, I'm like, do I really want this? And then I can, partition my limited funds on it. But yeah, I mean, in the end, that's the whole joke, is there's just too much stuff. There's too many things.
Well, yeah,
to buy,
and
so.
it's sold out, and literally like within 10 minutes, copies that hadn't shipped out yet were going for like stupid amounts of money.
Which we always circle back to the Mondo mentality.
Yeah,
and that is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I buy some of the re-releases. A lot of them I don't. I just, it's whatever. And there's too many companies releasing titles. I'm grateful for so many companies, but it's also getting to a point where that I just can't keep up, and I don't. And so I finally was able to kind of let go of that,
yeah,
which was a huge relief. And now I'm just being able to focus on a few things. But I kicked it off with Dead Next Door, Dead Don't Die.
Yeah,
Dead Next Door is awesome. Anything you've seen lately that you've really enjoyed in the genre?
Yeah, like I said, I watched Culture Shock. That was all right. Stranger Things season 3 is pretty solid. I'm trying to think if I've seen anything in the last 2 weeks or so that I mean, other than that, I mean, I've watched stuff, but it hasn't been horror. It's just, because I've had to watch Spider-Man for the website and some other stuff I need to post up on there. But yeah, for the most part, it's just been I wanted to watch Midsommar, but I didn't get around to that because we had the VHS swap last Monday, which, as always, is a good time.
Definitely.
At Alamo, and then next Tuesday we've got Sleepaway Camp, which is going to be a good time too.
So much fun. It's going to be a slasher fun summer here.
Yeah.
At Alamo.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, speaking on Dead Don't Die is one of the worst films I've seen this year. The best film I've seen this year so far is Midsommar. I just posted my review up on cultfollowing.co of it. I was tempted to go back and add a little bit more, and I may update it here with some additional, because I had I was so busy with Mad Monster, Joe Bob, and my regular life. I had seen it. It took me about a week to post, but I mean, as people will know, Hereditary was my favorite film last year. So, after like having another film out within a year, I just was like, well, I've got the highest hopes. But all I'll say is that, I mean, if you enjoyed Hereditary, it's a lot of the same themes here.
Yeah.
But it is to me, a very different film. And I haven't seen much this year. There's a lot I'm looking forward to, but I mean, I was not as impressed and shell shocked as I was with Hereditary, but I really, really enjoyed it. It was a true experience, and that's what I like. The slowest of the slow burn, and I think I put in my review, and it's the best description I can come up with. It really is Willy Wonka meets the Wicker Man, and so if you enjoy there's people kind of like Hereditary, who, although I'd say it's much more prevalent here, where it's almost more of a dark comedy than a horror movie, but it's definitely a horror film as well. It's pure psychological horror, and I mean that's what he's good at. I'm very comfortable with saying that. I feel like his career, I can't wait to see what he does next. Now, if he does another one with the same kind of themes, I don't think I'm going to be as excited, because I think he's just going to be wearing out his welcome. But I felt that this one was different enough. It just wasn't as good. So I made a lot of comparisons in my review of Hereditary. It's not just because of I didn't want to make it sound like the sophomore slump, because it isn't. But it's just, it's the best film of the year, but not as good as Hereditary. But I recommend everybody goes and sees it, because it's one of those films like Hereditary that you need to see uninterrupted, like a theater. Like, if you're at home, you're going to be on your phone, you're going to be doing stuff and things like that. So, but I mean, other than that, I mean, I haven't seen a huge amount. I've been they've added some stuff to Prime I've been checking out and things, but I haven't been able to finish a lot of them, to be honest. So it's hard to watch a lot of the movies and stuff. And everything else I've seen in the theater hasn't been horror, except I think, I can't even remember the last episode. Did we talk about Child's Play? Had it come out yet? I don't believe we did.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, Child's Play is the only other one I saw. I don't know if you haven't had a chance to see that one.
No, I didn't plan on watching it.
Yeah, I might have a review up on that one too.
Yeah, but, I think I had an issue. This was my grumbly thing, where I was getting irritated at how many reviews I'd read of it that were clearly the person didn't like it, but was trying to be way too nice about it because the studio gave them candy. And this is like one of these things about as far as horror websites sometimes bug me. Like, there's this, like, I feel this tacit thing going on where, like, a lot of, like, bigger horror sites don't give horror movies negative reviews, and it really annoys me because, like
I'm just laughing in my
head. It's
going,
good fun.
Victor and I grew up, we're pretty much the same age, same generation. So you're basically saying it's the Game Pro model. Like,
yes,
the fun factor is a 5.
You guys just turn your brain off, and you'll have so much fun.
Yeah, that's definitely a line.
And I'm just getting tired of that. Just like, if the movie isn't good, just for fucking once, just say it's not a good movie. I at least to me, like, because I think we in general on our website try really hard to give nuanced reviews of things. Like, we don't do like star systems or thumbs up, thumbs down. It's like, there's an impression, like, here's what I liked about it, here's what I feel it's touching on, but it's like kind of up to you to decide. I don't like being like 4.75 stars out of 10. And I'm not trying to like rag on people who do that. More power to you. Maybe that's the model you like. But I literally am not a fan of that. I like hearing people's voices and, seeing like, okay, if they like this, then they might like this, and want to see like, like a writer's journey in that sense. And this feels kind of pompous, I guess. But I'd much rather follow a writer than like, lowest common denominator, thumbs up, thumbs down,
Yeah, I hear you. Well, and some of the reviews are they're kept to like a paragraph each or a couple paragraphs. It's like, well, what are you really telling me?
Yeah.
It's like if you're in the back page of like a local paper or something that you have to keep it to a 100 words or less, I might understand for space. But I mean, especially in the online realm, it just blows me away. I mean, I hear what you're saying about it. I mean, I guess for me, there's a difference between something like I've reviewed on like Cult Following stuff, a movie like Fast and the Furious. I think it was 8. Am I a fan of that series? No. Did I enjoy the movie while I was watching it? Yeah, it was a lot of fun, especially because I saw it in IMAX. But it's one of those things, like, while I'm watching it, I'm enjoying it. But that's the thing. It's like, I'm just giving my impression on that. Not that I watched it down the line and went, oh, did I really, really love this movie? No, I didn't really love it. I just enjoyed it. And that's a huge difference between doing. It's kind of like we always talk about people trying to get to this point where they're like, it's like the whole elevated horror thing, or I'm into academic. It's just anyone with film, where their only films they have in their collection are Criterion, and it's like, if you think all the films in the Criterion collection are the best films ever made, that's totally great. Like,
no, that's just like.
But I guarantee you don't have The Rock or Armageddon or RoboCop or any of those movies, because
the Armageddon is in the Criterion collection.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's the joke. Is like, even they don't have those because they're so pompous. They have to have, it's like, I can't have the titles that someone would know,
right?
Like, who would pick them off. Joe Sixpack would know what I'm talking about, and it's like, there's a meme going around where it's a high tea kind of thing where it's like, I love the nuanced nature of whatever this thing is, and then it's like a picture of Kurt Russell's stuntman Mike below going, "Fuck it, let's watch Sleepaway Camp 3."
I've seen that.
Yeah, it's like the two kinds of horror fans, and I'm like, that's true though.
Well, it is. I mean, I got into this discussion online not that long ago where I'm trying to remember what was somebody posted this list of their 5 personal favorite horror movies. And I didn't agree with it, but I wasn't going to talk about it because, frankly, that's their 5 personal favorite horror movies.
Definitely.
And then people started arguing about it. And somebody local, got into it and said, well, here's my 5 favorite movies. And, of course, they're all, like, from the 1920s and 30s. And I posted a comment, and I'm like, that's great.
I'll see you at the Box Social.
Yeah, and it's like, but if you're talking about speaking to like a modern audience, it's hard to get somebody like movies past 1980. I mean, just like most kids who are into horror right now, like the active horror fandom, like, I've got my Battle Vest of pins. I go to, I'm all about like, The Witch or whatever. I'm not trying to stereotype anybody. But the kids you see like in movie theaters,
but it's true.
It's just like most horror podcasts are just 1980s only.
Well, I saw somebody recently that like online that I told them that they should check out an edition that somebody had done. I don't know, Shout or Arrow or something.
Right.
I was like, this is the way you should see this movie because, man, the supplementals in this are amazing. It's the only way you can see the unrated director's cut the way they intend. No, I'm just going to get on VHS. And it's like, okay, I get the VHS thing. I'm a fan too. But, like, if you really want to see this movie and you enjoy it, this is the version to get. It's kind of like the argument over, like, the 4K thing.
Yeah.
It's constantly. It's like, look, if it's a movie I think is going to be great in 4K or was meant to be seen that way, I'm going to get it. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to rush out to replace all my movies. People having, like, class war discussions about, like, it. I mean, they are, because it is. It's like, if you're saying DVDs, it's like, oh God, DVDs. And it's like, dude, if I can get DVDs for 50 cents and it's a movie that's never going to be on Blu-ray, why wouldn't I buy it?
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Most things are never going to be on Blu-ray at this point,
Of course.
People want to jump to the next format, and Blu-ray never took off the way DVD did.
Oh, no, not at all.
I mean, a lot of people are like, why do they still do Blu-ray DVD combo packs? It's to try to get you to buy a Blu-ray player because DVDs sell way more every year than Blu-rays do.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge gamble for Sony and with the PS3 and all that, and it's like they obviously won, but at the same time, it's just one of those things where I guess, like I said, I mean, it's however you want to enjoy your movies, enjoy them, but leave like you were saying, kind of like leave your attitude and
Yeah.
ego at the door with it. It's like tearing people down and stuff is never cool. Bullying and harassment are never cool. But the one thing that's always not cool is posers. It's just like, and I'm not going to call anybody out on being a poser because of my criteria or anything. But I will say that to people who are like, everybody, everyone has to get in at some point, and to be respectful and cool to those people and help them. But when you are someone who is literally buying your identity, like they are, it's you're buying an identity. Like, I'm gonna call you out on that, because that's just you're buying literally the key pieces of whatever it is, or so that you have bragging rights or any of the stupid stuff. Like,
no,
I hate
and
that.
that's the whole thing. It's really easy to do that nowadays, unfortunately. And like, there is this whole thinking going on, like right now, like, this summer, like at least with Terror Tuesday, like I tried to program it on a theme. So we're doing like some summer camp slasher movies. There's Sleepaway Camp, there's The Burning, and then there's Friday the 13th Part 6. And my thinking with that is, you get somebody at least 3, I feel, essential movies that I feel are like largely underseen, because like if you talk to people like nowadays, like it's very hard to find somebody who's seen a Friday sequel on the big screen, because whenever Friday the 13th gets played, it's literally always part 1. Like it's either part 1 or Freddy versus Jason. They never play any of the other sequels anywhere, and it's like, how hard is it to like show a hockey mask Jason movie? Because that's what people are expecting. I've been to at least 2 or 3 screenings of Friday 1 where people had never seen it, and they're like, why is Jason not in this movie?
Yeah, well, and that's, like I said, again, everybody's got to start somewhere, but it's like, this is why you start with, it's like, it's easier than ever, and that's the cool part. You don't have to have all the money. You don't have to have all the stuff. You just have to have an interest in it. And if you do, that's great. Mm-hmm. But, like, if somebody says to you, like I said, that, like, hey, I'd recommend checking out the movie on this format, and you're so committed to this forged identity you have that you have to have it in a specific, like, system, like it has to be VHS or it has to be Laserdisc, it's like, what's going to be easier for you to find? I mean, it's like, come on, like, let's be totally honest.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, honestly, I only know one person in my entire circle of friends who has a Laserdisc player that actually works.
Well, they're very hard to find functioning ones. Most people buy them as decorative, and that's cool, too. Yeah. Whatever you want to do. And like I said, VHS is awesome. I love VHS. It's what I grew up with, and I enjoy it. And I like watching certain films on it. But I also, enjoy a lot of the other movies. And it's like, this is the reason why. Because this is the way they were actually meant to be seen. Yeah. And you can always go back to the VHS. It's just like remaking a movie. It's not, they didn't rape your childhood. They didn't ruin your life. It's fine. Just enjoy it. And, it is what it is. That's all we can do, man. It's, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
As we have our little old man on the lawn discussions.
The Gran Torino times. But, I don't know. Maybe that, speaking of well-aged things, I guess we can launch into the...
Well, yeah, and honestly, maybe that would be a good idea for, like, a future episode. Like, here's a primer of, like, some essentials you should see because it would benefit you in watching other movies.
True.
I always think that's good because, like, God, like I said, I was talking to these people online and got to the point where, like, look, I know there's a lot of people who shelf collect, but, like, if you're going to watch any of the Universal Monster movies, the one you have the best chance of liking is probably The Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah. And, like, if people are like, it's not Frankenstein, and they're like, no, because The Bride of Frankenstein has a story structure that you can identify with, and a simple enough story that you can get behind. I honestly think the actual Frankenstein movie is kind of hard to get through. It's like, in most of the Universal monster movies, especially Dracula, if you're essentially watching a stage play,
True.
So if you have an issue with sitting through, like, like when Fathom Events does those, like, oh, the Met Opera presents Frankenstein starring, like, actor, if you have an issue with that, you're not going to get through, like, Frankenstein,
True.
Yeah. But
Well, and that's one of many things. But you're right. Most people are not going back to the Universal monsters. They're going to the 80s and the 70s,
Yeah.
maybe the less of the 70s. Even one time I was at Phoenix Comic Con, and they had a contest. Just one of those things, bring up people from the audience and we trivia and stuff. And one of the ones was, you got to pick, first, second, third, got to pick the genre or time period. And I defend the 1970s. And, it's like, I'm going to lose probably no matter what because of the 80s nostalgia.
Yeah.
But I was like, look at this, man. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Exorcist, Jaws, Alien, Hills Have Eyes, Suspiria. I mean, pretty much every major Hallmark film that people call the best movies ever
yeah.
was launched in the 70s. I mean, there was a lot in the 80s, too. But, I mean, people are like, I'm like, just really think about it for a second. The movies you say you love, they were at this time period too. It's like at least a half of what you say you love most, and especially if you love European horror. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I'm just blown away by it. But it's people are like, no Freddy, no Jason, no, and it's like, okay, great.
It's easy, and the thing is, it's really easy to get combative about like 70s versus 80s horror, and like honestly, you could be like, put it like this, friends, like if without 1982 or 1986, would you really be like arguing so passionately for this decade? You could argue, you could argue every single year of the 1970s is much better, has better horror films that are referenced more frequently than any year in the 80s.
But in the 80s, it's also it's the most enjoyable.
Yeah.
So be it. But
Yeah. No, and speaking of the 80s, look at this, 1986, you got Return of the Living Dead, which we're going to talk about,
I was working us getting off our lawn chairs a few minutes ago.
I know, I just had to finish my point.
I know you did. It's all
but
good.
But it's like, today's July 5th, not July 3rd, but 35 years ago, we had Dan O'Bannon's Return of the Living Dead. You could argue, one of the most underrated horror films of the 80s, but one that feel like that genre mix formula has been way more successful in what we call zombie movies in the last decade, and you wouldn't have shit like Shaun of the Dead without Return of the Living Dead,
Zombieland, all the big horror comedies, because Dan O'Bannon and company took a huge risk. I mean, at that time in it, I mean, it really was. I mean, it was definitely, if you've seen More Brains, the feature-length documentary on Return of the Living Dead, you realize, it was a monumental undertaking. I mean, it's one of the few that I'd say, to me, is one of those perfect films. I love Return of the Living Dead. I can literally watch it any time, because it has so many unique features and blends so well. I mean, it's genuinely got some really unnerving moments, especially as a kid. I mean, the first Tarman appearance with suicide scared the hell out of me, and so did, there's more subtle stuff, I think, Freddy's kind of demise there. It's real freaky, and then the part with, him and the, getting in the, crematorium.
Yeah,
I mean, there's just a lot of
kisses,
real
wedding ring. All
yeah,
that
I mean,
stuff.
there's some heavy stuff, but then it's one of the funniest movies ever.
Yeah,
so,
and it's one of those movies. It's unapologetically we got to hit the checklist on our nudity and profanity.
Well, Dan O'Bannon especially made sure there was plenty of nudity.
Oh yeah, and the whole thing with Crash is just insane. It's I remember watching it as a kid. Trash, that's it. And it was just she's just straight up stripping in that cemetery, and I'm like that. And then when she gets killed with all the hands, I'm like, man, that works so much in terms of what it's saying in more than one level. All these ghouls getting their hands on a naked chick. It's almost like an indictment of the audience on some level, but at the same time, it's just that's gotta that had to be genuinely scary for her. There's no way it seemed like
and
that.
It was. She says that it was definitely unnerved her, and I mean, Linnea Quigley is one of those people, who had already been used to a lot of nudity and a lot of exploitation films. Same with Jewel Shepard and a few of the other women that were on there. I mean, Beverly Randolph playing the straight woman, literally, like the definition of it. But it's just one of those movies. I mean, it's like I said, when everybody talks about the zombie genre, it's funny that you reference like the Universal monsters. It's like you think about movies like Bela Lugosi's career, like with White Zombie,
yeah.
and then you think of all this long lull of movies. I mean, there are zombie characters in films, but the zombie movie, I mean, really did start with Night of the Living Dead, which is also celebrating over 50 years. I mean, it's a half century of Night of the Living Dead now, and I mean, but that's like it's two generations from 68 to like 86. I mean, that was almost 20-year gold standard.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, Romero was already topping himself with Dawn of the Dead, and then Return of the Living Dead and Day of the Dead, which came out 85. They both were huge. Oh, which by the way, of course, in the film, it's 35 years. It's 1984, July 3rd. But the movie came out in 85. It was shot in 84. I mean, it's in 68 for Night of the Living Dead. But you just look at me. If you were to get somebody, any random horror fan at convention, and start having them list off zombie films, I mean, it's going to vary by age group. But I mean, I doubt White Zombie or a lot of the older zombie films are going to be on anybody's list. I mean, pre-1968.
Oh, God. I mean, it's just one of those things where, like, I would argue, like, trying to find any kind of, like, voodoo or Haitian zombie movie would be hard to find. Like, Serpent in the Rainbow? Is that going to be on your list? I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, or even, what is it? Like, I Eat Your Skin. There was a few other movies and stuff. I mean, like I said, I go on, but I mean, when people talk about me, I'd say you have that period of like the Romero trilogy, Return of the Living Dead, even part 2 and 3. I mean, have a real soft spot in a lot of people, and then you kind of go on into the modern era. I mean, starting with I would say and then it becomes that. Is it a zombie? Because you have your 28 Days Later, and then you have Shaun of the Dead, you have Zombieland, you have all of these movies. I mean, I would
the mainstream.
The 21st century was, I mean, it's weird for people who don't know. I mean, just a couple days ago, they announced the end of the Walking Dead comic, which has been running for over 15 years. And I mean, Robert Kirkman, the creator, I mean, originally it said he was going to run for like 200, 300, 400, 500 issues, depending on when you talk to him.
Yeah.
And that show is a huge show. I mean, obviously the first really successful zombie show, but there's so many of just shows now in that I mean, The Walking Dead spawned. But that's kind of the thing you go back to. I mean, like all these movies that are spawned. So X begat X, like Shaun of the Dead begat Zombieland, and 28 Days Later, you could say, a multitude of movies. I'd say any movies, and you have all these different debates: fast versus slow zombies, rotting zombies versus people like recently reanimated. Whatever way you want to look at.
Yeah, because it totally depends on the genre. Like so much of the time, I mean, like look at something like Tombs of the Blind Dead or something. Like, oh, shouldn't those guys just be dust?
But that was the thing. They're mummies, not zombies.
Right.
That was always his thing, and it's like, so it's I mean, there's another. It's like people always ask about going on the riffing on the Universal monsters thing. People go, why don't we have any more mummy movies? Like they did the Mummy films.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then Tom Cruise, they keep trying to do the Dark Universe, and that didn't work. But it's because I mean, certain things like even the ratio of vampires and zombies versus werewolves or something is crazy. Mummies. What else you got? I mean, there's characters that are literary. Hunchback, the Phantom. It's like, can you do that?
Well, yeah, and then when you look at zombies, those are like one of the few genres that are actually birthed for the screen. Like the modern zombie was created in a movie, not in a book. there's very few. I mean, like there's very few things you can say like that. I mean, like
True.
hopping vampires might be the only thing I could think of. Besides, that's just like specifically a movie creation. That's how we look at something that has no like origin on the printed page.
Well, the hopping vampires, I mean, has a legend. I mean, in Chinese folklore.
Yeah.
But I mean that, and zombies obviously have folkloric, mythological tradition.
Yeah,
you're
but
right.
it's just
there is
like
a screen.
yeah.
It's a screen zombie. The way the zombie looks, it started with Bill Heinzman as a cemetery zombie
Yeah.
#1. I mean, Night of the Living Dead, and then you have, whatever you say. I mean, Dawn of the Dead has a cottage industry of people who just show up at conventions because they're
Yeah.
so beloved, because they were the plaid shirt zombie, helicopter zombie, Krishna zombie, nurse zombie. I mean, it's awesome. But like that's a big part of zombie films. Return of the Living Dead has so many iconic zombie characters in it. That it's like, and that's another successful thing. But then you also have ones like Shaun of the Dead, where the humans are the recognizable, identifiable characters. They have a cult following. They have a fan
There's
base.
not really any recognizable zombie characters in there so much.
And that's what you can argue the big difference is. The 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s had a lot of that, and then once the 90s and into the 21st century moved on, it was about, I mean, that's the premise of The Walking Dead, is that they are the Walking Dead. It's all about the survivors. It's about the human characters, which in most any other movie, you'd be like, I don't give a shit about these people. Like, all I want to see is the monsters.
Yeah.
But that was development. That was a change. And that wouldn't be without, but that also wouldn't be without Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead, without all the social commentary.
Yeah.
Without our vested interest in the characters and desire to see them survive.
Yeah. No, it always goes to that idea. I've talked about this a few other times when we talk about zombies, because God knows we've done enough lectures and talks about them over the years. But I think part of the whole like allure of zombies in general is that whole thought that it's, your own mortality is the biggest fear that human beings have in general. And like there's such of the cottage industry in real life of, oh, how will we dispose of your remains? And it's like, you could go for like the cheapest option possible, but like it always comes down to the idea like, oh, I want to be sealed in the most hermetic coffin ever, because you don't want to accept the fact that you somehow are, won't have conscience in that period. And literally, you're just going to be an inert pile of matter. It shouldn't fucking matter, but it does because of traditions and all that stuff. And just like, we all go through our day thinking, tomorrow is promised, and we don't have that anywhere as a guarantee. So that's why it's like this ultimate, like, sort of Damocles over us, like death. I feel like I'm about to narrate Faces of Death 4 right now.
That is true. That's very true.
Death, the unavoidable. I'm Dr. Francis Gross.
You might be demoted to Traces of Death here if you can't get it more slow and scummy, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's definitely spot on. It is. It's the classic. And that could be the opening to half these movies we're talking about. Is that kind of, it's. I always think of John. I suppose still to this day that John Larroquette narrated the opening of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
But it really is. It's that very documentary style, like sound, and that's what people love. I mean, it's the same thing. It's weird that the other big phenomenon of the the 90s, and especially into the 21st century, is ghosts and paranormal events and entities and stuff, and it's also inextricably linked to death and the idea of what happens in the afterlife. And so those are the big ones. So obviously people went from, myth of, something supernatural like vampires or werewolves, these creatures. And then of course, you also have the third big one, which was the human monster, the serial killer, the cannibal, whatever it was, obviously, you think of like the Academy Award-winning horror films, really the big two were Silence of the Lambs and Misery, where I mean, and those are the most human of killers, but the most inhuman at the same time. So I think what the zombie genre is, it's always focusing on, like I said, the human characters and stuff. I think something that carries too throughout is the idea of, but also isn't discussed as much. It depends on which one you're talking about. Some it is, some it isn't. But it's like the lack of desire. Like you're looking for a cure. You don't want to kill your family or friends.
Yeah.
You want to contain them. You want to, you have some hope or vested interest in doing that. But like, because that used to be a much more prominent theme. It happens still a lot. I don't know. That's something else. Again, another dimension of the human condition, and obviously, like our desire to know what happens after our existence. And so, zombies. It's like it's weird that zombies are a hope in a way, because it's like, oh well, you're gonna live on forever, even if you're not functioning. But like something like Return of the Living Dead, it's a I don't know if you can call it glass half full, but it's like,
oh yeah, because they have consciousness
and they speak, but then they're in pain.
Yeah,
the pain of being dead. So it's like, is that really the life you want for your loved ones, or something like that? So it just becomes this so many different, so complex social issues.
I would argue that the place you'd want to be a zombie, like, least would be the Return of the Living Dead universe.
Yes.
Because, I mean, there's no upside there. You could be like a squished, run over pile and still be able to think and feel if you have a brain. And it just gets worse in the ensuing sequels,
Yeah, part 3 is definitely heavy. I've always been a huge fan of that. I really thought Brian Usna did a great job. But it's just one of those ones where I think it's such a such an immense downer, which I love in horror films. Because I love reality.
Yeah.
And zombies is a supernatural thing, but it's not reality. But people go, oh my god, what if it was? Because it's much more realistic than thinking I'm going to turn into a werewolf or whatever.
Yeah.
It's more like, oh my god, could we, especially with what do you call it, advances in science and chemicals, and who knows. That's chemicals, not chemtrails. Let's not get on that.
The wrong kind of podcast.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, I think people do have it. I mean, like right now, our bodies decompose at a much slower rate because of preservatives that we eat.
Yeah.
I mean, our bodies are actually being preserved. So I mean, it's one of those things. Like, who knows? Like, how people come out. One I really liked, by the way, and because I can't spoil the ending if people have never seen it. But to me, the future, because that's something I think is important to talk about when you kind of look at the last 50 years of zombie films and the undead and whatever there was a film years ago called The Revenant.
Oh yeah.
And
I still have a copy of that.
Yeah, I love that film. It's one of my favorites, and I think it's the idea of how we would actually deal with the living dead. That's it to me. It's basically like a vigilante zombie movie.
Yeah.
That takes an incredibly morose turn in the end, but it's something that I love. Like, as a social commentary, I think it's great. I think it's something so powerful without being preachy or anything like that. It just tells it like it is. And I absolutely adore that film. So that's kind of like, if I were to take a pick right now, I'd say that's it. But overall, I said it's just, I think the hard part is trying to get to other themes. I think that's why people are doing movies like, kind of like Overlord, and they're trying to do different time periods. And not just like the Pride and Prejudice and zombies and things like that. But I mean, I think people are trying to use different periods of time, locations, like desperately trying to use. Sometimes it looks like a template kind of feature.
Yeah.
Another underrated one too on the horror comedy tip in the vein of Return of the Living Dead that I really loved in the last 10 years was I Sell the Dead. I thought that was great with Dominic Monaghan and Ron Perlman.
Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. So like I said, I think horror comedies are one of my 3 favorite subgenres. So that's something I'm always gonna really enjoy. But zombies are just so it's so overdone, but at the same time it has so much room.
Yeah, there's a lot of versatility. I mean, one of my favorite zombie movies is Della Monte Delamore.
I agree.
You know, and if you see it in the U.S., it's called Cemetery Man. It came out in 1997. And it has Rupert Everett before he was big for My Best Friend's Wedding or Black Mirror or anything. He plays a character that's, if you've seen Dylan Dog with Brandon Routh,
Yeah.
it's the same character essentially. Like he plays this. He plays a caretaker at a cemetery in a small town in Italy, where the dead, if you bury them like within a week, they come back from the dead. So essentially, the city pays him to make sure everyone they bury stays dead, which is like, it's a really dark, meditative comedy with kind of like a mindfuck of an ending. But it's like he falls in love with this girl and she dies, and then he's waiting for her to come back from the dead.
I don't even know if it can be said as a mindfuck as an ending, as mindfuck as a movie.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of fucked up shit going on in that movie. He falls in love with one girl who's like, was virginal, and then turns out she was raped, so she can only be with a eunuch. So he's literally gonna get his dick chopped off at one point. And then she gets raped again, and she likes it. It's not a PC movie, folks. It's a 1990s Italian horror movie.
Not in the least.
Yeah, and so yes, he doesn't get his dick chopped off. He like injects himself with something that makes him impotent. So he's trying to get it reversed. And I mean, I'm sharing the dumbest parts of this movie. It's a really well done movie with a lot of contemplative stuff. The Grim Reaper in this movie is a character that's really cool and executed really neatly. And then there's this one character, Nagi, who's like the assistant caretaker, and he falls in love with the decapitated head of the mayor's dead daughter, keeps her on the television set. It's just a really good movie. You wouldn't even see something, I don't think, this visceral today.
No.
It's very gory. Like, they kill a bus full of Boy Scouts, and they all come back from the dead with, like, chattering teeth. It's super unnerving. It's a good movie.
It's a great movie. It's one of my favorites. I laugh thinking about it. Like, Victor's so much better than I am at describing some of these movies. I just realized when I was talking about The Revenant, I kind of got into, like I said, just real quick for those interested, it's like a U.S. soldier dies in war, comes back, and undead, after his funeral basically, and ends up becoming like a vigilante. Mm-hmm. It's just it has this huge dark comedy aspect for the bulk of the movie, and then this denouement that is like just heavy as hell. And then I Sell the Dead is one of my favorite historical subjects, which is resurrection men, which were like grave robbers basically, that sold for scientific purposes. Bodies they would exhume and stuff, and of course it was big business for all of that. And so but it's just such a funny story. It's such a genuinely kind of almost like warm and stuff in a lot of ways, but then it's just so dark and messed up. Like, I don't know. Ron Perlman is has kind of like a bit part. Don't think he's in the whole movie, but he's in the kind of like the wraparound, and it's just great. And then Dominic Mayan and I'm so sorry, I forget the other one's name, is in it. They have such great chemistry. The other great
isn't it Andy Serkis?
No, Andy Serkis is in the remake of Burke and Hare.
Oh, that's
which is another great Resurrection Man with Simon Pegg. And there's a lot of great Burke and Hare, both the original and remake, are great as well. But those are ones to check out. Any other ones? You got good other horror comedies or other zombie movies just that you think need attention?
I mean, I'm trying to think. Overall, there's lots of underrepresented ones.
Andy Serkis. Sorry, real quick, and another one is I'm trying to remember. Is it Death Watch? Is a World War One zombie movie that he's great in. There's two of them. There's Outpost and Death Watch, but Andy Serkis is in Death Watch. I think that's a great if you're into like war zombies, that's a great movie.
Yeah, Larry Fessenden is the other.
That's what I was just gonna
Yeah.
say, but I couldn't because I was thinking, I'm like, is it Larry Fessenden because he's
He was probably in your brain because he's also in The Dead Don't
the
Die.
die, and he's great. He's one of the greatest directors. He's also one of my favorite parts of We Are Still Here. He's such a great director and actor. But it's definitely a really, really good one to watch. Death Watch is one to check out, and so is Outpost. So yeah, some good stuff with Ray Stevenson, fucking Punisher himself. And I just realized we totally hit our F-bomb list. Sorry, guys.
I think we're solid.
Yeah, I hope we are.
You're not expecting us to say frack or something like that.
Yeah, the Andy Serkis one is Death Watch, and it's the World War One, the Western Front, which is one. I mean, horror movies in the Western Front or World War One are so rare. World War Two, it's becoming more because the whole Nazi zombie subgenre.
Well, yeah, and for every shitty like zombie movie, I mean, there's tons of them. I mean, you don't need me to eliminate that list. You know what's good and what's bad.
But I like hearing. I always think it's good to hear some ones. From
I don't like
people.
found footage zombie movies at all.
I don't like found footage in general.
Any of the modern Day of the Dead ripoff, Day of the Dead Contagion, Day of the Dead Raid, all those. Just ignore all those. They're terrible. But like for the most part, there's good stuff like Cemetery Man. Every few years or so, you're bound to get a good zombie movie. I mean, you have in the last couple of years because I did not care for Anna in the Apocalypse or The Dead Don't Die, but those might be your bag.
I do love Anna in the Apocalypse, but only because I don't even consider it like a zombie movie. It's just such a fun musical, it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
But I hear what people are saying.
No. But even with The Walking Dead wrapping up, the comic, I mean the show went to shit a while back. There's you're gonna find something good amongst the detritus, whatever the fuck that word is. Another F-bomb. Sorry. Just so sorry. But
it's Friday.
It's Friday. That's the real F-bomb.
I have been hearing, by the way, that the one movie I'm supposed to see this year, our mutual friends Jen and Troy have told me is the Japanese film One Cut of the Dead.
Train to Busan is good.
Oh, Train to Busan is an excellent film. We talked about that last episode too.
Yeah,
that's an excellent film. I'm hearing really good things about One Cut of the Dead, so I'm hoping to check that one out. But, kind of go out on that one. What do you think is, since zombies are so ubiquitous in media,
right?
What do you think is the future? What would you like to see that no one's done
without
selling your $1 million
I remember
idea?
For a while, Shudder would endlessly show The Horde, and there's parts of that movie that are really cool to look at. I think maybe the future's in other countries. We're just too used to our tropes. All the good stuff seems to be coming from other places.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is definitely from overseas. I mean, you definitely see some very different stories.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the way of things, probably. But yeah, I don't know. I'd hope with The Walking Dead, with TV, it would be better. But I mean, it is like I said, there were some great seasons of Walking Dead. I love the comic. It's one of the comics that got me back into comics. But I'm also just, goes back to what we just said. You can't go past the 5th season. When you that's a point of no return.
Yeah.
You just end up somewhere you don't want to. So
never go 5th season.
Never go 5th season.
All right. With that in mind, folks, I think we're gonna call it a Day of the Dead on this zombie edition of Horror Cult. Let us know what your favorite zombie movies are. We're always about your feedback. Hopefully you enjoy what you're hearing. Join us next time when we'll have more news from the world of horror and beyond. Until next time, this is Victor Moreno, along with Kirby Nelson.
I can smell your brains!
And until next time, send more paramedics.